Myself, Krishna Bhagwatula, CEO and co-founder of Urja Charge Tech. Welcome to everyone to the panel discussion session, delivering a seamless charging experience with charging standardization. I'm honored to be the part of this panel as a moderator, hoping to have an amazing discussion and gain your valuable insights to all the panel members. I heartfully welcome Mr. Rubin, CEO GOBP, Mr. Neeraj Gupta, AVP Operations in Charge, Mr. Arth Patel, CEO and co-founder Direct Charger, Mr. Avinash Sharma, CEO and co-founder Electric Pay, Mr. Arvind Prasad, Head of Charging Infra Ether, Ms. Manjul Girish, Head of EV Charging and Photovoltaic Inverter Division, Delta Electronics, Mr. Mayank Jain, CEO and co-founder EFIL Electric, Mr. Jyoti Ranjan Harishchandran, founder Bolt Earth, Mr. Pav Pallav, CEO and co-founder Hyperion. Thank you, one and all. We'll be jumping into the panel discussion. So, hello everyone. I would like to start with Mr. Rubin Pether. So, we have been seeing the growing EV vehicles in the market with the adoption of EV two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and four-wheelers. With your experience, what strategies and technologies can be implemented to build a reliable and extensive quick charging network, which effectively can eliminate range anxiety for EV users?
Okay. We're still in very early stages. There's a lot that we can do to make sure that the charging experience grows in a seamless way in India. I think if you talk about standardization, if you take two-wheelers, and if you're looking at swapping, if I start with that, we don't have standardization yet, so there's nothing further will be moved on I believe, in the two-wheeler swapping market until we get standardization. On the four-wheeler side, I think a lot has moved forward, so we do have a lot of standardization under the hardware. Obviously, the default standard on charging now is definitely on CCS2 plugs. So that doesn't seem to be an issue for us. So we're moving forward on rolling only on that out. But I think on the range anxiety, that is a challenge. And, it's back to what you heard this morning, with the previous speakers, that it's about a chicken and egg story. So how do you relieve the range anxiety, right? You need the network. But the problem is, how far do you go ahead of the curve and build out the network? So you've got to take some hardcore, decisions. And I can talk for what we are doing in GOBP Pulse. We've taken a stance that we're going to have to build this network out anyway at pace. And because our real commitment is not about selling electrons, but accelerating the decarbonization of India. And when we hold that in mind, then we believe that we're in the long run for this, and we're going to have to build the network out. So there's a lot of obstacles, there's a lot of challenges. We don't have the number of vehicles on the road to support a large network. But if you're really committed to the end goal, accelerating decarbonization in India, then you're going to have to go and build this network out. So this is exactly what we've done, and we've taken that commitment. And therefore, you'd see us trying to alleviate the range anxiety to a large extent by rapidly building out a network. It's a tough decision to make, but we've made the decision.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great thing. So here, I guess developing a robust network is very important. And people should join, like all the charge point operators and the technology developers and also vehicle manufacturers, OEM side. It should a collaborative move towards it. I guess, as you rightly said, it's a chicken and egg case here, which comes to us what is the case. But moreover, building a robust network with a reliable charging infrastructure where a seamless charging is delivered and a seamless payment system is also delivered is main criteria here for the EV users. And moreover, to extend it to the fleet operators also. So, yeah, exactly, rightly said. So, the charging network has to be widespread here. And initial cost is actually a huge thing for any CPOs here. I guess government should also, imbibe some new policies on giving good support on financial and good support on subsidies, where more clarities is given to the CPOs and the manufacturers, where this can be actually adopted on a widespread, with other individuals also, and maybe the business people also. Yeah. So moving to the next uh, question. So this is to Mr. Jyoti Ranjan, Bolt Earth. So, what are the current challenges faced by electric contractors or technicians in maintaining and operating EV charging stations? And what do you think? How we can mitigate those costs with the installation part?
Uh, Thanks for that question. Like there are two ways of looking at it actually. So there is the hardware cost for EV charging devices, which we generally put on the road, or apartments or societies or offices. And second is the installation and the grid upgrade cost. So correct me if I'm wrong, this question, like the cost generally is that what we are seeing in a lot of our installation is majority of the time the cost of the service installation and grid upgrade is much higher than the cost of the hardware for charging itself. So I think that the primary reason behind this is majority of the places, not only the highways where Jio is putting a lot of charging points, fast charging points, but even in houses, the grid is not up to the standard in most of the places. In fact, we now have partnered with one of the major three-wheeler manufacturers who's having a significant share of market in three-wheeler space and have launched EVs. So when we look at installation even at their home, even a simple thing like earthing is not present. Forget about basically sanction load or anything like that. So when you look at a problem like that, then of course the cost is going to be higher, but also look at it from the perspective that how much you're going to pay for fuel essentially if it was fuel. And today with EVs, you can practically never have to charge outside of your home or office. Essentially, if you are not taking long trips or something, you can be rest assured that most of or 99 or 0.99% of your energy needs will be enough from charging at your home. So that means that you have to spend a bit more, and of course the cost of labor and everything else has also gone up in India, especially in the city. So combined with the very bad state of grid today in India, we expect the cost to be much higher for significant amount of time. But once this infrastructure is set up, the best part is once, let's say I am a user, I am setting it for myself, I have paid a premium for it, but my friends also can use it. My friends who are visiting my home, or some neighbor or somebody else also can use the same infrastructure. So effectively you can share the same charging point with 4 or 5 people is what we have seen already, and those are the numbers even for a slow charging AC home charging point, right? Because you only need to charge once a week most of the vehicles today. So if you look at it from that perspective, it is still lower, and compared to, of course, the fuel we are going to save, it is even more lesser. So like putting it in perspective is much more important in this case, because sometimes we do have very affordable charging solutions for end customers, where the wiring and installation cost is 3-4 times the device cost itself. So I think like we have to look at it holistically, and what we are going to build out for not only a few months, but it's for 5-10 years. Essentially, you're going to create that infrastructure and use it, right? So think of it like your AC or your elevator is what I keep saying all of the customer we speak to. It is not just infrastructure, you're going to use it every day. Once it stops working, you have to climb to 19th floor in my building, elevator is not working, you'll realize it is painful. So you have to install, pay for the installation service and maintenance service, and make sure it is working, because it is a utility at the end of the day. One day it stops working, next day you're not going to be able to take your vehicle out to your office. So that is, with that in mind, you should pay for this thing. Of course, there are local vendors or something who can give you some cheaper codes to deliver this service, but it will not be up to the mark. If something wrong happens, there are a lot of incidents of fire and everything. If that happens, that's another liability. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, exactly. I would completely agree with the point that you have said. And to add to that, I guess Mr. Rubin might also know that, and Mayank from EFIL, that right nowadays there are two things. If you get a HT connection for your DC charges, you have to pay the demand charges, which is very high. No matter you use the load, you deliver the current or not. The second case is getting the transformer connection itself is a huge thing because you have to put up 7 to 8 lakhs of rupees just to get a 63 kV of connection. And that to the documentation process where you get 45 days, 50 days of wait period. And apart from the other formalities that are included. And you have no clarity when that thing will be installed. Until that time, your charger is lying at the place and it is not done. I guess with this, we should definitely have a unified policy for this for getting transformer connection or any electricity connection for chargers for the charge point operators, where if there is a existing transformer, you should be able to get the load on the EV connection from the existing transformer rather than putting up a new transformer, because that is a something logistically it's very hefty, and investment wise also it's very hefty on the charge point operator, because putting up a 60 kilowatt charger itself will cost you around 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs of rupees depending upon what kind of facility you're providing. With that additional incur of transformer connection, with it, as Mr. Ranjan mentioned, the wiring and cabling charges, where you don't have idea how many meters you have to lay the wire, what will the case and all. So I guess this thing also has to be looked upon and standardized and taken a decision properly, where these things can be properly mitigated so that more and more chargers can be put on road and more and more like robust network can be built. I would ask to Mr. Mayank Jain, founder and CEO of EFIL Electric. So, as you are a part of manufacturing of EV chargers and you have very great establishment with a wide variety of chargers, so as in EV adoption rates continues to rise, what steps can be taken to scale up the charging infrastructure efficiently and more sustainably? So, your viewpoints on
So,
that.
so I'll maybe take it from where you closed the earlier point. Like the government is working on the policy frameworks from that perspective, wherein it is under formulation. Like a standard unified platform is underway, wherein at a national level there will be a platform to monitor whenever the customer or any charge point operator is planning to start their new charging station. They have to apply for a EV connection and the pain points that you were talking about. So the policy is underway, wherein there would be a unified platform and people can apply for the EV connection, and it can be monitored from a same platform at a national level, and it can be the delays can be escalated and can be monitored and can be countered. So that is one part which would directly help in the expansion of the charging infra across India. Secondly, like all the discoms are actually working towards making the grid more reliable, which is actually another pain statement right now. I mean, for the charge point operators, for the reliability part of it, and also for the losses that there are, like because of the power factor issues and the voltage surges. So all those are kind of direct and indirect costs. So reactive are the direct causes, and power surges because of which the chargers are unoperational for a lot of time. So that is an indirect cost which charge point operators have to incur, and ultimately, because the charge point operator, the business is not that profitable as of now. The utilization is less than 5%, right? And so these all steps the policymakers are taking one by one. Apart from this, I think the point that you made earlier regarding making the data public about the substations or the transformers having a spare load, that would actually help to the charge point operators in identifying those areas where the spare load is already available, so that they can save on the cost of investment in the charging infra, or basically the upstreaming electricity cost. So yeah, that's I think is going to be for the expansion of the charging infra across India. Apart from this, from the technology point of view, since the charging connector, it looks like it has already got standardized, at least in the four-wheeler market. It's going to be CCS2, what we foresee. But in case of two-wheeler segment, the standardization is maybe like across the corner. We have like two major kind of connectors rolled out, Type 6 and Type 7. So now we're waiting for the market to basically establish for those type of products, and we'll be coming with maybe one of those two connector-enabled chargers for the two-wheeler and three-wheeler market also. Thank you.
Yep, makes sense, fair enough. So I guess with this certain views should also be, I mean, certain lights has to be also kept on technology development on the charger side and also on the management of the chargers. I guess that scalability, that innovation also has to be taken care of. I guess in India we are at a very growing stage where we are only using in a very traditional way, like how we are using for any other kiosk, anything. But for chargers mainly, it should be more with the ease of payments, ease of usage, and ease of the reliability has to be the more concern, because when we talk about EVs on the domestic side, we talk about traveling within highways or from point A to point B or within cities. But when we come to the fleet operators, the fleet operation is something, I guess, which is time bounded. So that delivery of power, that reliability, and that delivery of quality of charging is more specific there. I guess that is the more concern where technology can be involved and can be upgraded as much as possible to enhance the services from the charge point operators view also, right? So that's thank you so much, Mr. Mayank. I would next move to Ms. Manjula Girish, Head of EV Charging, Delta Electronics. So, what innovative approaches can be employed to expedite the availability of charging grades at close quarters of EV owners, ensuring convenience and accessibility, according to you?
See, all these things becomes very essential. I mean, EV as such, an ecosystem, it is totally new for the users. If I take my ICE vehicle, though it is 10-year-old vehicle, I'm comfortable that I'll be able to refuel and then I'll be able to move on. Whereas the range anxiety is not a matter at all. Even if it is fuel indicator is showing only 2 kilometers, I'm confident that I'll find a fuel station. So probably rugged infrastructure which would put the users at ease. I mean, home charging is one which is very common for consumers. But when it comes to fleet operators, it could be bus or it could be trucks or it could be cars. It becomes essential activity. So with that, building a smart system which can help us out to trace out where are the charging points, or if I'm planning for a delivery activity, the routing or mapping of those infrastructure becomes the essential. So probably a rugged app or advanced technology-based, AI-based tools which will help us in order to trace out and then map my activities, the need of the hour. One is that, I mean, there are multiple apps, multiple solution provider which comes into picture. But if it gets synchronized, like however we have oil marketing companies consolidated way, if you have to find a fuel station, you'll have the detailing. So let that one forum which helps to trace out all the charging solutions with the reliable network, then that would be the need of the hour, I would say. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Ms. Manjula, for sharing that insight. I'll move to the next question. Mr. Arvind Prasad, Head of Charging Infra, Ether. So, what are the main challenges in achieving charging standardization across different regions and manufacturers? And as we see, Ether and Ola is working on this, and other OEMs are also working on this. How can these be addressed to provide a seamless experience for EV users, according to you?
Yeah. Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the organizers of the event. They've truly recognized charging infra as a big lever for EV adoption. That's why there are 8 of us on the panel talking about charging infra and its importance. But first, I wanted to address the first question about how important it is to build standards. Ather runs Ather Grid, the first and largest two-wheeler fast charging network in the country. And when we launched our scooter about 5-6 years ago, no one was building out fast charging for two-wheelers. And also became very important for us to start building out fast charging on a standard that is relevant to India and relevant for light electric vehicles. There's a standard already that exists from Europe, from what Japan, China use, which is the Type 6 standard that is great for DC-only charging. But we realized we need standards that allow for innovation. We need standards that allow technical innovation both on the charging side, but also on the scooter roadmap side. So about 5-6 years ago, we built out our own charging connector that allowed and enabled both AC and DC charging for light electric vehicles, anything below 12 kilowatts, right? But what we also did, we also strongly believe that competition needs to be on the two-wheeler front or on the four-wheeler front, but then there needs to be nationwide collaboration on the charging infrastructure side. So what we did about 3-4 years ago is we opened up our charging connector, gave up our patents for anyone to be able to adopt. And in the last 2 years, we've been working with the government and BIS and various stakeholders to officially get the standard published. And so we're very happy to announce that, in Feb, as recent as Feb, the BIS has officially adopted a designed and made in India technology that is the first of its kind in India for light electric vehicles, right? And it's a big achievement because when we come back and look at EV as an opportunity for India, everyone says India is going to take the charge on electric vehicles. Fantastic. We say in about 5-6 years, 75%, 80% of two-wheelers will be electric. Great. But it's also a chance for us over the next 5-6 years to become exporters of technology, exporters of standards, exporters of ensuring that India takes the lead on how electric vehicles, how charging infrastructure, how power grids should be developed for Asia and the countries in this part of the world, right? A lot of the time you look at standards that work in Europe, try to adopt it. It works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes, right? But there is a need for tech that needs to be homegrown, made in India, that is fantastic and meets all the global standards in terms of safety, in terms of interoperability. And I think that's the opportunity that we have. Mayank rightly called it. There are new standards. There are 2 standards out now in the light electric space and two-wheelers, and there will be various market factors that will play out over the next few years. But the opportunity is there. We have to come together to be able to understand that you have to collaborate on charging infrastructure. It is one of the biggest hurdles on EV adoption. A lot of stakeholders are figuring out how to address and how to solve this big play, right? If you look at two-wheeler market or four-wheeler market, the transition from ICE, from two-wheeler, four-wheeler is same. You still ride your car the same way. You're still going to ride your scooter the same way. But the biggest change in EV is going to be how you interact with energy, how you interact with charging infrastructure. So multiple government stakeholders, private partners, OEMs, charging point operators, charger manufacturers. It's a great chance to create a new industry in India. It's a great chance for everyone to come together with the ultimate goal to keep removing frictions year on year as we start scaling up for this EV adoption. So, and my take is very simple. More players coming on board, more players collaborating with the goal of solving one problem, which is to ensure we take care of EV customers and address their charging anxiety problems. And in the process, make India truly not only the biggest EV two-wheeler player, but also the biggest EV exporter of tech globally as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Arvind. That was really insightful. Moving to the next question, Mr. Perv Pallav from CEO Hyperion. So, how do you see the growth of trajectory of EV charging station market over the next 5 years? And what emerging trends do you think will significantly impact the industry?
Thank you, first of all, for that question. I think to address this question, the trend of EV charging, as Arvind sir rightly said, it depends on all the stakeholders coming together, collaborating, and building a robust system, a robust ecosystem to build the charging infrastructure in the country. It's very important to do that. Until we get to that point, I think the trend will always be mild. It will not reach its potential that, India's tech or India's manufacturing can potentially achieve. I think stakeholders like the government, charge point operators, charger manufacturer, OEMs, component manufacturers, I think all of these play an equally important role. And I feel the trajectory to pick up in the next 5 years, India is still dependent on a lot of other countries for various important components. I think I was having a chat with Mayank and Manjula ma'am, and we were saying that, rectifiers for DC chargers, I think, is the biggest component that is we are dependent completely on other countries for. And also, as I come from the connector industry, we believe localization and standardization are the keys to, propel this charging infrastructure industry. Because as we see, four-wheeler public charging stations are picking up. The trajectory is going up, but the adoption of two-wheelers is much higher in this country. And as we are speaking on standardization, I think everyone's covered various parts of it. But I think as a connector manufacturer, we also are looking forward to the standardization in the two-wheeler segment, so that we also know where the dust settles and where, as a third-party connector manufacturer, we can go towards. And I think localization, not only in the charging infrastructure, as us also, we believe localization is the key to building a robust system. Being a proud 100% Indian make connector manufacturer, we can offer lead times or after sales service. Once the localization trend happens, the after sales service, the consumer experience, the range anxiety, all of that goes away in my opinion, because the response time becomes very quick for any charger manufacturer or any CPO. So I think those couple of factors will make sure that the trajectory goes to the potential that India is made of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pau. That was really helpful. Uh, the next question I would ask is to Mr. Neeraj Gupta, in charge. So, into technology and into manufacturing with Servotech and newly launching the in charge, in what ways is your company ensuring that the development and operation of EV charging stations are sustainable and environmentally friendly?
Thank you, Krishna. I see that all the panelists sitting here, we have one major pain point or one common area of discussion is the cost of EV charging stations, which is very high. So the first idea as a charging point operator is to bring the cost down. So I'll break this question into two parts. One, I will answer from the manufacturing point of view, which Servotech Power Systems, our parent company, is doing, and second, from the CPO point of view, which in charge as a brand, Servotech EV Infra is taking care of. So to bring the cost down in manufacturing sector, we have recently started a plant in National Capital Region, where we will be manufacturing most of the EV charger plants indigenously in-house. So we aim to build around 85 parts of both AC and DC chargers in-house, where the production has already started. So we aim to manufacture a quality product. Our idea is to build an Apple product with the cost of China market. So that is one area where we look forward, where we aim to bring the cost down. From CPO, plus there are certain other innovations we have done in our manufacturing, where we have recently filed for a patent and we have done certain research and developed a product where the same CCS2 Type 2 charger can be converted and used as a DGBT charger, bringing down the cost to a very large scale. There is no need to put a separate GBT charger, just a separate device or a connector is connected and a protocol software is run, which makes the CCS2 charger charge the GBT protocol as well. So these are the two areas in manufacturing where we are trying to bring down the cost. And on the CPO model, yes, again, the electrical infra, especially from the discoms, bringing in transformers and the power connections, that's a huge cost in the entire charging station. So we have further plans to cut down these costs by bringing in solar generation. We are planning to generate power, as the central government recently has come up with this policy of Ghar Ghar Bijli Yojana. So taking a clue from that, taking a edge from that, we are planning to build some solar plants along with a charging station where we can generate electricity, pass on to the grids and take that benefit. So these are certain, some of our initiatives that we plan to reduce the cost, because investment is one major factor in this entire CPO model. Because we see the consumer is less as of now. We don't see much of EV consumers coming into the charging stations and charging their vehicles. Considering the investment in putting up a charging station is so very high, the return time is quite high, from 4 to 5 years. So to reduce that cost, we are aiming to produce our own electricity through solar and cut down the cost of chargers and integrate both CCS2 and GBT chargers to overall bring the charging station cost down to a sustainable level. So I believe another 6 months down the line, we'll be able to show some good results to the market. We plan to open up around 1,000 charging stations in next 2 years with the same mindset and with same thought process, by saving cost and working on the locations where we can have high potential and high moving vehicles coming up to the stations and giving us the results.
Thank you so much, Mr. Neeraj Gupta. So talking about that, there is a long and very long debate of using renewable energy for charging infra. And we talk about on-grid management, we could talk about off-grid management. So this is a general question to the panel members. I guess Ms. Girish might be actually the right person to take this question up. So according to you, how can a renewable energy thing can be actually implemented on grid, off grid, and would there be a proper future for this where you can utilize solar power, wind power to actually charge the battery through with the charging stations, with charging stations or wireless technologies that we are right now looking in India also developing. So according to you, what can be the case?
Actually, the solutions are evolving. I mean, as rightly said, the demand for power, it's going to scale up. I mean, though EV comes with the sustainability, green mission, there is a pain point of supplying the energy to it. So, of course, everybody's focus would be on that. I mean, how do I reduce the cost? How do I arrive at the sustainable solutions? So, we also in Delta, we have both the model. I mean, hybrid as well as offline, where you can generate the power, store the power, and then utilize whenever required. And then the energy storage system would be one, which comes as a hybrid. And then offline also, you can come out with the microgrid operations and then store the energy activity. So, of course, the need of the hour is renewable energy for the sustainability mission as well as for the longer run. And then we one side anticipate and aspire that penetration for the EV acceptability should go high. And we other side have the problem to solve. How do we generate the sustainable power for the longer run? It in terms of cost as well as in terms of sustainability. These two comes in hand. So arriving at the user-friendly resolutions in terms of renewable energy, it could be wind, it could be any other solar modules. Alternate renewable energy mission is part of this electrical vehicle adoption. So it's hand in hand. The betterment we do in that aspect obviously will have the better acceptance. That is one. And then when we were also discussing about the how do we scale up the acceptability, defining the ecosystem becomes one of the essential part. If I have a car, ICE vehicle, now I know where to give for the repair. In case if I'm aspire to have new model, how do I give it to a pre-owned shop? So such kind of mentality yet to get and yet to understand the ecosystem of EV at this point of in time. I mean, we spoke about the components, whether I'll get the space for my vehicle. If I get the vehicle breakdown in the middle of the road, how do I get the assistance? So these are all the small issues which really need a resolution for the user. Once we have the ecosystem, once we have the alternate energy system in place, probably we'll see the more success in adoption of electric vehicle. That's what I would say for India market.
Yeah, truly said. So I guess this is something that a collaborative move, as in the whole industry should take. Single like solo charge point operator cannot do anything. Component suppliers cannot do anything, or anyone who has a software technology development cannot do anything. This is something that where a community should be built, where the different sectors, people should be involved, huge brainstorming should be done, and I guess as in community this thing should be developed. And rightly said, as Mr. Arvind was mentioning, this is something that where we can aim for a global level solution delivery, because this is not limited to India or any territory, because charging infra itself is one thing that is being adopted globally, very widespread. And we have, I guess in India also, we have majority of cars already launched, bikes already launched with the technology that we see on the BMS side, the technology that we see that we develop on the CMS side and the charger side with all the protocols, CAN service or OCPP or OCPI. I guess these things has to be involved, and people should be more and more open to this, where they share their APIs, they share their technology, making it more and more open source, where people can utilize it, grab that opportunity, build more and more robust and strong architecture by which the ultimate growth can be achieved, right? So as Jyotiranjan was mentioning, or as Mr. Mayank was mentioning, these things has to be done on the collaborative way, and where renewable resources thing also should be involved, and we should be focusing on how we can more and more achieve towards the sustainability rather than just being operating, single-handedly.
See, and the solution differs for different mode of transportation. It differs for trucks differently, it behaves for buses differently, it differs for two-wheelers separately. So it cannot be achieved in a standardization mode. I mean, the expectation and deliverables is specific to that user. So awareness, ecosystem, alternate power, everything comes in hand. And as you rightly said, it is not one component manufacturer, it is not the gun manufacturer, it is not the car manufacturer. We should stand as an ecosystem in order to address this specific issue. We should stand as an ecosystem to see the outcome. So that's what I would say. Thank you.
Exactly. One last question, maybe then again we can wrap it up. So, talking about this, I guess we have a huge potential in the technology advancement also, and I guess India is looking forward to have that. We right now we manage all the charges in very traditional way. So, this is a general question to the panel members. Anyone can take this up. So, according to you, what other implications, other advancements can be made on the software side, on the technology side, be it be chargers or the CMS that we are using, or the battery management system that we are talking about, any kind of charging technology? What things you think that can be advanced from here and should be actually looked upon by the people who are serving this industry? Anyone can take this up.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of things happening at the same time. So we'll take one by one, maybe like from the charging software platform, let's say. So you talked about OCPI, OCPP. So already the industry is moving towards like from OCPP 1.6 to 2.0.1, right? But theoretically that is there, 2.0.1 is there. But the industry right now is still, I would say, using 1.6 and in some cases struggling with that because of the interpretation of the standard, which is open standard actually. So it is little different for each of the software player, right? So advancement is happening, but we should not just run for like the changes again and again and so fast. I mean, the technology would move fast, but we have to be a little cautious when we are adopting the new technology. So we should be like, we should focus on the reliability first instead of just jumping the boats, right? So that is one thing. I mean, and now talking about with regards to the software part, so CMS is one thing which is actually required for all the charging stations to be operated manually, right? And now coming on to the vehicle to charger communication. So that is also part of software, wherein the number of technical or technology advancements are happening with plug and charge and auto charge coming in. So that would actually enhance the user experience altogether to a different level. Like just like other countries wherein plug and charge and auto charge features are there. Like for example, we take an example for Tesla. So there is no need for a user to basically use any application platform. So user just need to plug in the vehicle, the charging starts automatically. The user interface is basically in the dashboard, vehicle dashboard. So these all things are happening in India also. So we have been seeing like, we have been working with the OEMs wherein they are bringing such things on their dashboard, on the vehicle dashboard. So India, in the terms of technology part, is actually evolving. And we are not just working just to follow the global standard. We are actually making standards like Ather in this particular case, is making a standard for the globe. And in case like making two-wheeler and charging fast and slow, both like just like Tesla. So Tesla connector is basically, it can support both fast and slow charging at the same time. I mean, from the same connector. Similar thing is happening. I'm proud to share with you all that at EFIL we are also one of the charger OEM wherein we have started exports to US market. We are producing CCS1. We have developed CCS1 and Tesla connector enable like compatible charging station, and we have started export to US market. So India has a very huge potential. We are not just making in India for Indian market. We are making in India for the globe. So yeah, I'll maybe pass on to some other.
So I guess coming back to your opening question, so what will accelerate the adoption of EV vehicles in India? And I believe this is two things, and I think the prof this morning also alluded to that. I think firstly, people get it in the commercial space that the TCO makes sense on EV vehicles. So we don't need to educate fleets, bus operators, truck operators. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you will get it. I think the real struggle we have is making vehicles accessible to the man in the street, right? And who only looks at the price of the vehicle as a starting point. You can't explain TCO analysis to the you know. So the only way you can solve this is firstly, government needs to step in hard for a couple of years. And I think as a CPO, we've been pushing this a lot. So if we can crack that where you get price parity or even near enough price parity, you will solve that. So that's the one thing. The second part, I would say, the most important part, is a big education drive on customers that will buy a vehicle. So I think there's a lot of misunderstanding there. This range anxiety thing, keeps cropping up. The whole issue around, is it safe? All those issues need to go away. And I think the way to do it is mass education. And then if you can get the price parity down, and I think we need government help. And if we can get that solved, because we can see a lot of cases globally, you can really get the adoption pretty quickly, 2 to 3 years, if you can just get some form of subsidies to the end consumer.
Yep. I agree with Ruben, what Ruben is talking about range anxiety, and my fellow panelists talk about the innovation and advancement in technology. I believe on the CMS part, the charger technology, the battery technology in India, we have already come a long way ahead. A lot of advancements have already happened. What more is required is the customer education. People still have a lot of range anxiety about adopting a EV vehicle, especially in the passenger car segment, and that is a major segment that we all are targeting about. So it is imperative that we do some sessions. There's coaching or some data driven analysis given to consumers, and encourage them to use electric vehicles. Lately, we have seen the numbers, especially in passenger vehicles, are not going as expected. And the kind of investment, the cost we are putting up in setting up charging station is huge. And there's a lot of gap between demand and supply. It is already, the industry is still immature, but the gap that has come up between demand and supply is increasing due to slow adaptation of EV vehicles. So it is more important that we educate and guide our consumers and drive them towards buying more EVs, which altogether will make it a sustainable model. It's not only the tech that we have to work on, but a lot of other ground factors that needs to be worked upon.
Yep, rightly said. And when talking about range anxiety, we have to address the problem of time anxiety. So whenever you reach, we talk about fast chargers like 60 kilowatt, which can juice up your battery within 60 minutes, 45 minutes. But the other part that I guess most of the people fail to look at is the person who is going to particular charger and trying to install the app, recharging the wallet, then initiating the charging, and then realizing the charger is not working, or there is a power cut. Those things also is a very big hindrance point for any EV user. And mostly they tend to take a step back by listening to all these things कि भाई वहाँ पे जाके ये करना पड़ेगा, वो करना पड़ेगा. So all these things make them less with feasibility and easyability to usage of the charger. So to mention this, I guess USA Charge Tech is also, mainly emphasizing on these things, and we have already developed one where you can directly do the payments, initiate charging within your WhatsApp, or without any app altogether, where you can make the payment immediately with your UPI, debit card, credit card, and also once your charging is done, you can get the instant refund back. So this is one thing that we have. We are also looking forward to have. I guess with the discussion that we had today, collaborating and having a discussion all together, mainly we can solve these pain points. We can make more and more innovations with the problems that we face on the daily basis with the charging infrastructure, or the manufacturing side, or the vehicle manufacturing side anywhere, or with the renewable energy that we were talking about. And we should all together actually have this more and more on the collaborative side, rather than operating individually and counting us as in competitors morely, right? So thank you so much. It's time for a wrap up, I guess. It was delightful to hear from everyone, and such an insightful session we had. So many points we have put on components, manufacturing, technology, renewable sources, and I thank one and all the panel members for joining us today here. Thank you so much. This is Krishna signing off. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I kindly request all of you to be seated for a moment, please. Can we take some questions from the audience? Are you open for that? Just wanted to understand. Do we have any questions? Can I have one of the hostess to help us with the mic, please? So we're just organizing the mic. Just a second. Yeah.
About all. Hello. Yeah, you all have discussed about all the technical aspects of charging requirements. But have you thought about the location of these charging stations? Will metros have the charging station within the cities or it has to be outskirts? That's one point. Second point is if charging is going to take about 30 minutes or so, what do you expect the driver to do? Driver or whoever has brought the vehicle for charging to do for that time?
I'll take a crack at it. So I think we'll have to look at. So even charging infra, we have like a LFP problem that we say in the battery, right? You have land, you have financing, and then you have power issue, right? These three is fundamental. Getting land is easy in the two-wheeler space or two-wheeler charging. You have lower load, lower space requirements. I think for car charging, again, people are being able to set up on highways, which is where people are able to take it. I think we also need to understand customer charging patterns in India. I think a panelist in the morning also mentioned about how 80%, 90% of charging happens at home. And that's a reality. Most of charging happens at home, whether it be AC charging, right?
Most of us don't have specific charging, parking slot. So it's very difficult to charge the vehicle at home. And so also at the office. Many offices don't provide for parking spaces.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, which is why I'm saying, again, if you look at cities that are not constrained, let's say Bombay, Delhi, that's a big issue. And I think everyone understands that. It's a problem statement that's unique to both those cities. Everywhere else, people are able to charge at home. Now, EV adoption will start becoming more rampant. Then what happens next? That's where you start seeing a lot more collaboration that needs to happen. You're going to have to start setting up charging infra from shared space to every parking lot. You'll have to start mandating laws and policies for every office space to start thinking about providing charging everywhere, right? So land is a challenge. I know GOBP has their own approach. We're even setting up chargers on highways, which I think is a right approach for fast charging for cars as well, right? But I think understanding charging patterns and the time that it takes to charge is something that will start getting better. Battery tech will improve, our grid tech will improve, charging techs will improve. Soon people start realizing, okay, we can get about, let's say, 50 kilometers in a shorter time. Is that good enough? Habits will start forming around the tech. Tech will start leading and improving the habitual experience on charging. I'm sure other panelists also have some thoughts on it. But
Yeah, so this is one more thing that we should concentrate upon. I guess what sir was mentioning was mainly when it comes to two-wheeler or four-wheeler charging, gated communities is the main issue, where the installing of the chargers is a big pain point, I guess. So for that, slow chargers should be installed. And gated communities, any kind of IT parks or people who have a good parking space should allow charge point operators to come and actually install the chargers. The second thing is, on the highway transport also, the network should be built in such way that any vehicle can charge their car within 150 or 100 kilometers of range. And with that, it should be concentrated that chargers are installed at a place where that 30 minutes or 35 to 45 minutes time is properly spent with their, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever, eating things, or, freshening up with the amenities that restaurant or hotel is providing. Those things are provided. I guess this kind of approach is what charge point operators are actually taking. I guess GOBP is also doing the same thing. Other charge point operators also are doing the same thing here. And third and most important thing, I guess, people should be also be aware that where the charges are and up to date how to use that. So I think more and more people are don't know where the charging stations are available. So the branding, the marketing, the visibility of the chargers again is a big thing. The installing a charger won't do a work, but making it visible to people and accessible to people is more and more important. And I guess charge point operators should also show some implications towards it.
I think this point of location, it goes hand in hand with the range anxiety. So location is of prime importance for putting up a charging station, and that is what most of the CPOs are concentrating. and you'll see a majority of emphasis or CPOs are putting chargers at highways, hotels, or the end mile location, the endpoint location, which is wise to do that. You're coming from Delhi. I'm coming from Delhi. So, I can answer your question in a much better way. There are more than 1,000 charging points in Delhi as of now, spread across all major, markets, parking areas, metro stations. But most of these charging stations, more than 85% of the charging stations are underutilized. Putting up huge investment in a charging station and then those are underutilized, it becomes difficult for any business entity to carry on with such kind of huge investment. So currently the focus is I would say the CPO focus is more on highways and the end mile locations where a user does not have a home but is going from city A to city B, or from point A to point B, where they need infrastructure at point B, or rather than point A where they comes from, because they have that facility at their home to charge their vehicle. So location is definitely of prime importance, and that is what most of the CPOs are concentrating on.
Yeah, if I can maybe give you some comfort, I think most CPOs are looking at, where should we put the chargers. It's not a perfect science, but as the market evolves, we will get better at it. We're using a lot of, franchise data to now work out where you want to do it. But I guess India has a mix. So we think that maybe in the end, 70% will charge at home, 30%, on highways and in key locations in the city. But we're going to have to cater for your needs. And that is also a bit of trial and error. Sometimes we get it wrong, and that's why you get underutilization, right? But also on the highways and even in the city, I think the customer, you're going to have to think about what you need, and in terms of safety, right? Is it well lit? Is the place convenient for you, your wife, your kids to stop? And I'm sure most of you have tasted our Wild Bean coffee, all right? It's our branded coffee in India. We have 100 outlets. We're putting them on all the ROs. And that also, you need to know that when you do stop, you have something that you could look forward to, take a break. And so I think from a CPO point of view, it's not just about selling electrons. We're thinking about a lot of things. And if we can't convince the customer that you're going to have a good experience, then we should get out of the game. So it's exactly what we're thinking, to take care of your needs.
I would like to add a couple of more things. I mean, apart from the highway charging, we also have within the city, probably in the fitness center, probably in the restaurants, the diffuse segments are also focusing so that you can park your vehicle, spend your time, spend your activity, and come back and get the vehicle. So such kind of feasibilities are also popping up in the society. So it's evolving. I mean, we really need to wait for some more days in order to have the complete ecosystem in place. Thank you.
Answering that, I think we think wherever the vehicles are parked today, we want to make you the most laziest, like what Amazon, Zepto, and everybody else has done. So wherever your vehicles are parked today, we want to enable charging at that place only, and that is the most convenient place for everybody. Today that place is your office and your home. Now, if you're not staying in an apartment or something, it's very easy to set up. But even in apartments and all, we have figured out business models where our utilization rates have also gone 2-3x in the last, I think, few quarters only. And we are also much closer to being profitable in like 2 to 3 years in most of these places. Simply because people want to be lazy, okay? Why do we order from Amazon? Why do we order from Blinkit? Why do we order from Zepto today? Is because all of us want to not go out of your house. Wherever we have placed something, wherever we have a habit of parking our car or two-wheeler, that is where we want our cars and vehicles to be charged. and that is what at least at Bolt Earth we are trying to do. And of course, like while coming from Bangalore to Chennai, I drove my EV car and I charged it in Geo. I also charged it in Static and all the other charging points. But like my own utilization, last 3-4 years I am being having a car. Only I would have taken it out of the city. That is the point of time I need a fast charge. Otherwise, I want to take a nap at home and let my car charge or my bike charge. Thank you.
I think one of the panelists during the talk also mentioned about the fact that, if you're charging at home or at your office, you're charging within your premises, you don't need to charge every day. Your charging happens only once a week, or maybe if you're living in a city like Delhi, Bombay, where the mileage is higher, maybe once in 3 days. So building a community charging experience might be the way to go in cities like Delhi and Bombay, where there is less parking space. Maybe an apartment can pull in and build a charger where you can take turns to charge your car, and I think that can solve the space problem which maybe cities like these might be facing.